All right, all right, all right. Welcome back to Empowered Esquire TV. Please excuse my tech flub in the beginning of the video. I had one of those evenings where I just recently had a little dinner and I was kind of, relaxing before I went live. And when I finally got into the mood, okay, you have to go live now. Um, I just kind of needed to get back into how to do that. You would think that I haven't been live in months the way that I was, coaching myself through add the video, turn that sound off, turn this sound on, now do this, now do that. But anywho, hello to everyone. Happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers out there. We appreciate you. We love you. Wow, we're just in awe of you, right? Hello to everyone in the chat. Hello to Cardi K. Hello to Karen Johnson. And hello to all of my EETV fam in Les Bushes. In the bushes, right? All right, so you guys already know who Natureboy is, right? His government name is Eligio, one of those, Bishop. And he recently had another bond hearing. Now, we know that he had a preliminary hearing, right? We talked about that in my first video in which I broke down the charges that he's facing. But this was a follow-up bond hearing, which, as I explained in that video, he would have other options or other chances, I should say, at possibly getting released on bond, right? I explained that the hearing that we heard previously was a preliminary hearing and it was not set in stone. So said, so done, right? He had another bite at the apple. He had another opportunity to be granted bail/bond. So we are going to watch that bond hearing. This is in real time. I have not pre-watched it. Okay. So you're getting my live reaction to this hearing. I'm going to kind of stop it and give you some insight, pause and give you some insight. And, that's how we're going to do this. Okay. Before we get started, let me say fair use, fair use, fair use. We are about to watch the bond hearing, but it is being used for educational purposes. Okay. And I'd also like to give a thank you to the T for actually posting the full hearing. Okay. So that allows for people like myself and channels such as mine to be able to see the hearing in its entirety. Okay. All righty, now I'm back in the chat. Hello to Tyron Motif. Hello to True Colors. Hello to Octavius Prime. Hello to Empress Kaya. Hello to Supreme. And hello to Renee. All right, so, Supreme said the bond hearing is going to trip me out. Oh, boy. Well, we're going to see. All right, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, because we're going to get right into it because as you all know, today is a double. Oh, let me mention this before we move forward. Today is a double feature. Okay, so we are first discussing this hearing, but I will be back at around 8-ish, right, to talk about the Roe v. Wade SCOTUS decision. Okay, the leaked proposed decision. Okay. All righty, now let me share my screen so we can get into this bond hearing. Chrome tab, I always announce it. Don't ask me why. All right, let me see what you are seeing. Perfect. Let's see if we can do this. Can we do that? Wonderful. Okay, here we go.
Physically harm her and slap her before she physically harm her and slap her before she could leave. When she attempted to leave the night of that day, the defendant brought her to his room and proceeded to rape her. She talks about how she told him no multiple times, that she did not want to have sex with him, but that he proceeded to do so despite her saying no. Specifically, he told her that she was his property and that she could not leave. The defendant then proceeded to rape her in the room. The victim disclosed to law enforcement how her body tensed up and she was not cooperating. And at that time, the defendant even physically had to turn her over to continue the acts of penetration.
All right, everyone. I need to make a few announcements. First of all, Doug is in the building. Okay, the number one requested moderator in the world. So shout out to Doug. And he's telling y'all to hit the like button, which I agree. Okay, I'm looking at the likes and I'm looking at how many of you are in the chat and they don't comport. Okay, so I'm sure you like it because you're here. If you didn't like it, you wouldn't be here, right? That kind of flow together logically, does it? All right, so hit the like button. It is a totally free way to support the channel. Okay. What's up to Swan X and what's up to Negus Roselle? Long time no see, Negus. Where you been? How you been? Okay, so let's talk about what we've heard thus far. Now, we have not heard the name Eligio or Elijio Bishop yet. Let me say that. So, right now, we're assuming that the prosecutor is talking about Mr. Bishop until we hear a name drop. Okay, so assuming that that is what she's talking about, we have heard what is legally constitution what legally constitutes a lack of consent, right? We heard that the alleged victim expressed that she did not want to engage. We then hear that her body tensed, that she did not physically consent to what was happening, and that despite her non consent, Mr. Bishop allegedly continued to do whatever it is that he wanted to do to her. Okay. And legally, that's the R word. Okay. I mean, that it is what it is on that end. All right. Now let's continue. Hello to Tears. Everyone, check out OCOV Kel's Tears. All right. Let's get back into it.
At that point, she was crying and wanted to leave, but felt like she could not leave because she was fearful of the defendant and because of how manipulative he is. They ended up going to sleep, and at the middle of the night into the early next morning, the victim was able to leave, and then she contacted law enforcement to tell them about what happened.
Now, this is important. We heard a lot of, well, she later on referred to, and this is again all alleged, but we heard that allegedly the victim later on referred to what happened with her and Natureboy as them making love, right? That is allegedly what she proceeded to do. But listen, we're hearing now that the first chance she had to leave, she left. And let me tell you what that says to number one, a prosecutor, okay, and number two, a juror. As a prosecutor, if you see the first chance that a victim had to leave the situation and report something, that's what they did, their actions have what I've taught you all about on this channel before, right? The indicia of reliability. Because from what we're hearing, she did not wait days or weeks or months to go to the police and report this. She left as soon as she could, reported it as soon as she could, which means that she was still under the effect of what had happened to her. And by law, when you're still under the effect of a really, really traumatizing event, you have a higher indicia of reliability. What does that mean? You're more reliable. You're more likely to be telling the truth, because when you're still traumatized, you don't have the ability to make up a story and to make up a lie. So, first of all, from a prosecution perspective, they're viewing the victim as having a higher indicia of reliability because she left as soon as she could. As soon as it was safe to leave, she left. Now let's talk about how that plays into, as I said, the alleged victim and the things that she has said in the public. That actually helps her image because in the public, as I said, she said things that, people say, well, how could it have been the R word if you're calling it making love and all of that? Okay, well, common sense would tell you if it truly was making love in the colloquial way, why did she flee the first moment that she could? Right? That doesn't comport. So you already see that her actions are telling you that something traumatic happened to her. And now, how does that play into bond? Well, again, remember the nature of a crime goes into whether or not the defendant gets bond. So remember the details that we're hearing here. We're hearing that a woman who expressed verbal and physical lack of consent, he still allegedly held her down and did whatever he felt like, right? Violent behavior such as that makes someone a threat to society. When the person is viewed as a threat to society, they are less likely to be given bail or bond. It's the reason that you don't see people accused of murder getting bail or bond very often, right? Because again, you could be a danger to society. You're violent. This is along that same vein. Okay, so let's continue.
When law enforcement receives this request, they then go to the house where this incident where the incident occurred. And when they go to the house, they encounter multiple individuals, approximately about 15 individuals. The reason they're going to the house is because when the victim came forward, she also tells the police that the defendant ended up posting sexually explicit videos of them engaging in sexual intercourse on social media as an act of revenge for her leaving the cult. And the kind of workings of the cult is important for the court to consider today because it does go to whether the defendant poses a significant risk to the community as well as to the victim. And what law enforcement has learned.
Now again, y'all, I listen, I gotta oh, wait a minute, I had to make sure make sure it was paused. I gotta point this out, y'all. I have not seen this before. Okay. So, what did I just tell you all? I said she's pointing all of this out because it goes to him being a threat to society. It goes to him being a danger to society. And boom, what does she say? Okay, y'all. I'm in case you ever doubted me. Okay. Doubt no more.
Is that this defendant calls himself apparently God or three God. He refers to himself as the Messiah, and he's also known as Natureboy on social media channels on across different platforms. He refers to himself this way and orders other members of his cult or his followers to engage in physically abusive behavior. For instance, our victim who came forward stated on multiple occasions the defendant would order the women to slap her or hit her, and she was not the only one. He would also order other women to hit and abuse other women in the cult.
All right, now let's talk about this again. Remember, violent behavior makes someone a threat to society. So, in addition to his own alleged actions, you now have that he also allegedly instructs other people to be violent on his behalf, right? That makes him someone that, my goodness, you definitely wouldn't want him released from prison, right? Because that kind of person is dangerous even in prison. If this person can instruct other people to do violence on their behalf, they're dangerous even in prison. So you definitely don't want them out on the streets. All right, let's keep going.
As well as the men involved. Based on this, a lot of the members, including the victim, were fearful of the defendant, fearful to essentially leave or in any way defend themselves. She goes on to talk about kind of how he is manipulative over everyone involved and that the cult does travel. For instance, they've been to Costa Rica, Panama, and even Nicaragua, where they were apparently all kicked out for endangering and threatening the national security of those.
All right, everyone, we're about to have a trivia moment. Now, my lovely, lovely, and intelligent EETV family, why is it important to discuss that he runs a cult that travels? Why is that important? All right, someone let me know. Hello to Derek Davis. Hello to One Community. Hello to T Bam. All right. Let's see. Did I miss anyone else? Did I say hi, Karen Johnson? I think I did. I think I've gotten everyone, right? Yes. So somebody let me know in the chat, why is it important to talk about him allegedly running a cult that travel? So Cardi K got it. Supreme got it. Okay. And Negus Roselle got it. All right. Technically, Did I ask the question yet when Cardi K said it? No, I hadn't asked the question yet. So the winner is Supreme 773. So our star pupil of this live is Supreme 773. All right, everyone, give it up for our star pupil of today's live. Okay, so yes, it goes to him being a flight risk, because here you have someone who has the ability to travel, right? If he's gone to Costa Rica and here and there, he has a passport. Second, he allegedly he allegedly runs a cult that travels, which means he has both social, financial, and emotional support to do so, right? To pick up and go live somewhere else. All of these things add to whether or not he is a flight risk. That is why it matters. That's why she's delving into it now. All right. Hello to Black Girl Beauty. Hello to Diva Divine Light. Hello to Sharina. Hello to High Priestess. Hello to Nikki Blaine. Hello to Key Film Media and Art. All right. And as Diva said, hit that like button. I appreciate your support here. Okay, and Doug is sharing the Cash App. My Cash App is, I think I currently have it as my name, but you can't see me, right? So my Cash App is $Felicia P. Okay, you are welcome to contribute to the channel if you so choose. Okay, but rest assured that hitting the like button is more than enough. Okay, hitting the like button and sharing the video is more than enough support, although anything extra is welcome. So yes, she's going into travel now because it goes to him being a flight risk. Okay, we have a question here from Cardi K. Cardi K says, could this case become RICO? Well, that depends, Cardi K. So that depends on whether or not they have proof, right, that it was a concerted effort, right? That Eligio Bishop is running some sort of quote unquote enterprise that participates in criminal activity. Now we've heard allegations, right? Allegations of PPP loans, and even in this bond hearing, we're hearing an allegation of kind of concerted violence, right? That Natureboy directs this person to be violent to that person. So we're hearing the allegations. Now, if they develop enough evidence for that, then that's possible. Okay. And I echo Diva's sentiments. I said it earlier on in the live, but I will repeat it again. Happy Mother's Day. Feliz Dia de las Madres, or de las Madres. All right, to everyone, all of the mothers, both current and future, right? I believe in stepping into and walking in your future like it's already here. So if you are a mother, if you intend to be a mother, happy Mother's Day. Walk in that. All right. Okay, now here we go. So Tier says flight risk, intimidation, danger to society. Sounds like R. Kelly to me. Hey, a lot of these cases we hear things that sound very, 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 very alike. Okay. All right. Here, Panamanian, I think that's Panamanian, right? Panamanian Princess says that one of the members, Aaron, aka True, was the man on the phone that wanted to post his bond. Okay, right. Yeah. So we do know that some of the members of the alleged cult were trying to post bond for Nature Boy. And my information is that that did not happen. Okay. But again, I didn't watch this yet. So let's continue.
Country. They've also been to Puerto Rico and Hawaii. The defendant has an arrest from Hawaii and was forced to leave as well with the cult members. And in addition to the travel that this cult does under the leadership of the defendant, or this so-called person that he refers to himself as God, we, the state, received an anonymous tip that the defendant did have one of his followers go to Mexico to essentially start setting up a place for him for that when he gets out in bond, that's potentially where he could go. While that was an anonymous tip, we did observe on social media one of his members in Mexico just recently, as a few days ago, confirming that he is in Mexico. And so I mentioned that to the court because it's all part of the cult's inner workings and how they operate and travel. The defendant was arrested for false imprisonment, rape, prohibition of nude or sexually explicit electronic.
And let me just quickly note that again, if a judge hears that an alleged cult member has gone to Mexico, what does that sound like? That sounds like they could be possibly planning to take Natureboy to Mexico to evade this case. All right.
Transmissions, multiple counts, because he did post multiple videos of the victim and him engaging sexual intercourse on social media. And I will reiterate, she did not consent to those videos being posted on social media. He does have criminal history, and we'll go through each one of them. The first one being from July of 2006, a driving while license suspended charge. It was ultimately dismissed out of Monroe County, but the reason I bring it up is because he had a failure to appear on that charge. In February of 2012, he had a driving while license suspended out of Gwinnett County. In February of 2013, out of Rockdale County, he originally was arrested for an aggravated battery charge. It did get reduced to a battery, but it was a battery conviction. In January of 2016, he had an interference with custody and battery arrest. It did ultimately get dismissed, but I bring that to the court because of his previous battery conviction and then he being arrested for another battery offense. In June of 2020, he did have a conviction for a violation of rules and orders out of Hawaii, which resulted in Hawaii requiring that the defendant and other members of his cult leave. In addition, what he currently has pending is a warrant for domestic violence charge and a temporary protective order out of Ohio. That is another location that he's been at. From what the state is aware, a former member of the cult who was also his wife at some point has a domestic case out of Ohio where she is the victim and the defendant is the perpetrator. They actually have a scheduled hearing for that May 16th. And so that is pending. I go through all that criminal history because not only do the facts show that the defendant is a danger or risk to the community, but also does his criminal history. He has a failure to appear. He has a prior violent conviction, and he has a current pending warrant for domestic violence out of Ohio. In addition, Your Honor, before I tell you about the other risk factors that the state's concerned if he's granted bond, I do want to read read a statement from the victim in this case. She is fearful if the defendant is given a bond, and so I think it is appropriate. Before I do that, there are a couple of videos that I do want to show the court. And the reason I am showing the court these videos because it's to give context to what I am talking about. I will warn the court that some of the videos are offensive and explicit in language and assaultive conduct, but it's no more than 2 minutes and it is important for the court to consider. So with the court's permission, may I play those?
Judge, I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Let's see. Are you able to hear me now?
I can, Judge.
Okay, yes, and that will be granted.
So what we just heard before we get into what she's about to show, supposedly, is a litany of both convictions, open cases, and arrest involving Mr. Bishop, aka Natureboy, right? And now let's have a brief teaching moment. And I think I may have shared this on this channel before. I feel like I'm sure I have, right? But the law doesn't always come naturally when it comes to our natural way of thinking, right? As opposed to the law. So I like to reiterate things. So let's talk about propensity. Okay, propensity. I'm going to type that in the chat. Okay. So did you know that you have a constitutional right, not to be prosecuted by propensity evidence? So what does that mean? That means that a prosecutor cannot say that because you did something in the past, that means you did this current crime today, right? So they can't say, well, you committed a robbery in the past, so that means you committed this robbery today. They cannot do that. However, comma, When you're at the bond stage, a person's criminal history can determine whether or not they are given bond. So let me throw this at you. Do you think that criminal history matters for bond um, because it means that it's more likely that you committed the current crime? Or do you think criminal history matters for bond because it's more likely that you'll be receiving more prison time? All right. So give me a one in the chat if you think criminal history is considered because it means that Mr. Bishop, being that he has all these open cases, right, he's more likely to have committed this crime. Give me a 2 in the chat if you think, no, his criminal history matters because he's more likely to be given more prison time. And a person is more likely to evade a case when they're facing more prison time. All right. So, 1, if you think it matters because it means he's more likely to be guilty. 2, if you think it matters because it means he's facing more prison time, which would make it more likely that he'd take off. All right. So Cardi K, Marquise Dillinger, okay, SC, High Priestess, Renee, Black Girl Beauty, y'all got it correct. So the reason that the criminal history is being used here is because, again, it's a dog whistle to the judge of, look, he has all these convictions. He has all these open cases, which means when we take it all the way to sentencing, we're looking at, recommending a higher amount of time for him than someone who doesn't have this history. And he knows that. And because he knows he's facing some serious time, he may take off. All right. Let's get back into it. Is there anybody else I need to say hello to? Hi, Sexy Star. I think you just joined us. Okay. So, yes, y'all, don't forget propensity. Okay. So, it's not being used to say that because you did it before, you did it now. That's not the purpose. That cannot be the purpose because that is not constitutional. Okay. Hello to Ras Pamoja. Ras Pamoja. We're going to go with that. I'm assuming it's short for Rasta. So, we're going to go with Ras Pamoja. Okay.
Thank you. Just be patient with me as I try to share the video. Your Honor, can you see this video? I'm about to hit play, but I want to make sure that you see a video.
Yes.
Okay.
Be grateful that you're here because we're very grateful. See the attitude on her face. That was a good one, so. That was a good one. Slap a bitch back to sense. Like, stop wasting our fucking time making this shit about you, ho. It's about me. Where are my motherfucking legs and my toes and suck on my toes? Bitch, fuck you. And you can say it's abuse, but please leave. Can she please just leave me alone? And it's abuse, but she won't leave. It's because, it's mind control. But bitch, it ain't that much mind control in the world. Bitch, you doing it to yourself at this point. If a bitch smack me, I'm gone. If you let a bitch smack you, you deserve to get smacked.
That is the first video, Your Honor. I am going to pull up another video, and it'll be my last one.
Okay, so before we get into the next video, I want to answer a question and give a comment on the video that we just saw. So the prosecutor used in her initial argument against bond, this statement that allegedly Mr. Bishop can order people to commit violence on his behalf, which again makes him dangerous to society. That video illustrates that, right? In the video, we see Mr. Bishop alluding to having ordered someone to slap someone else. And then he pretty much proceeds to say, well, it's your fault that you allowed the person to slap you. but he doesn't deny that the person instituted this violence, because of his direction. And again, that is being used to illustrate that he's a danger to society. Now, the question is, this is a question submitted by, I'm always wondering if I say it right, but Key Film, Media, and Art. If convicted of both Georgia and Ohio charges, how would Natureboy serve his time? Well, that depends, Key, right? First, it depends on which conviction comes first in time. Okay. So is he convicted of the Georgia charges first, or is he convicted of the Ohio charges first? That's the first thing. Second, what matters is how do these two states communicate with each other, right? More than likely, they will have to set up an arrangement. So Georgia and Ohio will have to agree. Okay, is he going to do his trial in Georgia, and then you guys going to send him over here and he'll do his trial here? Or are you going to keep him there, sentence him, and then we'll have him come over here? So Georgia and Ohio will have to communicate with each other to figure out how they want to do that. Okay? All righty. Hello to Empath Whisperer. Uh-oh. There we go. A newbie. All right. So let's have all the visitors in the sanctuary moment. If you are new here, if you are a newbie to the channel, please drop the word newbie in the chat so that you can be accordingly recognized. Okay? All of the visitors, please stand. Shout out to the new subbies. Shout out to Empath Whisperers. Okay? High Priestess says these videos are light compared to some of his others. Oh, my, my, my. All righty. Let's continue.
Are you able to see this second video that I pulled up, Your Honor?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Oh, fuck God, nigga. Fuck this phone, nigga. I made this phone, I made you, nigga. Ever disrespectful, nigga. Don't think for yourself. You too. Right, right? Right, bro? Now you're listening to shit, fuck up. Yo, sorry, bro, right way, out your mouth. Call the cops. FBI out. Fuck you, nigga. Even if you lock me up, nigga, guess what? I'm still, my spirit gonna live. Let's see what I'm telling you. Don't say shit. You know what I'm saying? It don't matter. You can fucking do it. Right, boy, you can never stop me. I'm God. I'm no nightmare, nigga. I'm God. The black man is God. Feel my motherfucker.
Okay, then. So let's talk about that video. So, first of all, he specifically says in that video, even if they lock me up. Okay, so he's alluding to still being able to instruct and direct people to do things even when he is in prison, only further illustrating that he should not be out in the streets. Because if you can do it in prison, you're even more dangerous on the street, right? And another thing we see in the video is what? Him directing people to be violent towards each other, which again goes to him being a threat to society. So the prosecutor is just using videos of Natureboy himself to illustrate the things that she is saying about him. And let's have a brief moment of reflection about that, right? It's one thing. Let's use some people in the chat. Okay, let's say High Priestess said, man, Doug is the worst person ever. He always borrows money and he never pays it back, right? Let's say High Priestess said that about Doug. Well, if you like High Priestess, maybe you believe her. But if you don't like her, maybe you would choose not to believe her, right? Now, what if High Priestess was to show you a video of Doug saying, yeah, I tend to borrow money and not pay it back. I mean, hey, if you're going to lend it to me, then I figure it's mine. And Okay. Which scenario hits you harder? Which scenario is more powerful? High Priestess telling you something about Doug, or Doug himself admitting it? So that is what the prosecutor is doing here. She's using Natureboy's own social media to illustrate that he is what she is saying he is. And that is 10 times more powerful than her just sitting here and giving the judge an argument. Now, Candy Girl says she hit the like button, and you should too. You sure should. Let me log on to my cell phone to see what's going on with that. Let me see. Go to YouTube. We're going to see how many people are in the chat and how many people have liked the video. The video. Let's see here. All right. So I'm in the chat. I'm seeing, oh no, I'm seeing only 60 likes. And there are almost 100 of you in the chat. Okay. So, we got to get that. We got to get the likes and the people in the chat to more, what do I usually say? To comport with each other, right? That's how you support the channel. It doesn't cost you a thing, and it means that other people get access to this information because Miss Algo looks for things like likes. So understand that when we talk about hitting the like button, it is to get the video out there. Okay, so come on, y'all, hit this like button before we continue the video. All right, so let me go further. We have another newbie. Ross Pamoja is a newbie. Shout out to the newbie in the building. All right, we got a question here from Neek Nubian. Neek Nubian says, or wants to know rather, can some of the other countries he lived in get involved in the prosecution as well? No. Now they can provide the current prosecution with information, but that's the extent of how they can be involved. All righty, let's see. Key says, I wish I could see the judge's facial expression. Don't we all? I wish I could see the judge's facial expression during that video. My goodness. All right, looking through the chat here. She hit the court with that compilation smack video. Yep, that video is very illustrative of what she is alleging that he is. All right. Hello to PMB. Hello to Celeste Johnson. Hello to Susan Carillo. Thank you for joining us. And hello to Nettie Boo, OCOV. All righty, let's hop back into the video, shall we?
And Your Honor, the state plays those videos because it goes to show the power and control that the defendant has over the individuals that has been part of this cult and this intimidation and manipulation that he does with his members. It is a significant risk to the community. What's important also for the court to consider is that the defendant had followers of him record him while he was in the jail on a phone call and upload it to social media. In those calls that were uploaded to social media, he specifically tells one of his members to go and talk to the victim in this case. And he says, specifically, you need to make noise. Do everything you can do. Please go talk to her. This is an example, a textbook example of someone who is trying to intimidate a witness and intimidate a victim from continuing to come forward or pursue charges. What's also important to note from that video I played, he says, even if you lock me up, my spirit is going to live. And I think that is evidenced by all of this video evidence that's showing on social media. He is getting in contact with his followers, instructing his followers to essentially do things on his behalf from inside the jail. Can you only imagine if he is granted bond and back out into society, what he can do?
Again, my people, if you've ever doubted me, the exact argument she's delivering now is the argument I just prefaced. And I got that from watching the video. I knew that that is what her argument would be. All right. High Priestess says, I'm so glad I discovered your channel. I learned so much as you are very informative and you break it down so I can easily understand. Thank you, High Priestess. You are welcome. All right. And by the way, Doug, I love you. It was a random example. I love you. I'm not at all saying you're a bad person. Okay. We have a question here. What happened to the question? I can't find it. South National says she's fine and deadly. She's an absolutely gorgeous woman. And let me tell you, what's more powerful than a gorgeous woman who is also intelligent? Okay, very few things on this here earth more powerful. All right, let's get into it.
Do. I'm definitely concerned for the victim and her safety. And so I'm going to read her statement to give some context to that, Your Honor. But she does state, I am fully willing to testify in this case, even though I am nervous about testifying. I'm asking that you please do not grant the defendant bond. Can you please issue an order ordering him that he have no contact with me whatsoever? He is a danger to the community. He has abused many of the members of his cult mentally, physically, and emotionally. He's ordered people to abuse one another physically for his enjoyment and pleasure. I've watched him whip a girl with a leather belt multiple times for 15 minutes straight, ordering her to kiss our feet while whipping her. He didn't stop hitting her until he felt like it and until she cried in submission. He even smiled while abusing her, quoting, "This is starting to feel good." He prevented me from leaving his home that night I wanted to go. He took me into another room after mentally abusing me for up to 2 hours and after ordering the women in his home to abuse me. He proceeded to have sex with me when I told him I did not want to have sex with him multiple times. He has done this with me on multiple occasions and have taken advantage of not only me, but a multitude of women who have come to him. He has no respect for the women that comes into his life and even has devalued, degraded, and humiliated them on multiple social platforms online. He's openly told the members of the cult to reach out to me to try to persuade me to drop the charges. I'm afraid of the power and control he has over his cult members, and I believe he cannot be in contact with any of them so that they can start to carry on with their own lives. He is
All right, I'm going to let her finish his victim statement, but then we're going to have to get into this.
slapped and abused men in his cult as well. He's been physically abusive to the wives to the point that one of them lost feeling in her hands after being slapped by him. If he were to be released on bond, I would not feel safe at all, nor do I feel the people who were living with him would be safe. Please do not grant him a bond in the interest of justice, the safety of our community, and for the safety of his other victims who have and may never come forward. I am asking that you please decline this bond. So that's from
Wow. Wow. I mean, where do we even begin? So, first, let's go into the allegation that Natureboy was trying to reach out to the victim. Okay, now we had heard that there was a recorded phone call where he allegedly did that, but we now have confirmation from the prosecution and the witness herself that he has been trying to reach out to her. First of all, there are so many problems with that and so many things going on there that make it difficult for him to be granted bond. Here is the first thing. If you are the defendant and you are attempting to reach out to the victim, you could be obstructing the case, which is, by the way, y'all, a crime. Okay, it's called obstruction of justice when you're interfering with a victim slash witness. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing is, in some jurisdictions, that could also be witness tampering, where you're trying to get a witness to change their story or to change what they've said to law enforcement, right? Okay, that's a second potential crime. How does that affect bond? Well, if you are trying to commit further crimes when you're already incarcerated, how much more dangerous could you be on the streets? So all of this goes into this entire amalgamation of things that makes it look like, man, it would be a really bad idea to let this guy out on bond. Okay. Now Neytiri's statement. Eloquently written. Eloquently written. And you hear in that statement, now I don't know what you heard. All right, let me tell you what I heard though. I heard in that statement genuine fear. I heard a woman who is genuinely in fear of this man being out on the streets. Again, all of that goes into whether or not he's given bond. She also specifically details that she's seen him abuse other people. right? So she's seen a pattern of this behavior, not just one-off random acts of violence when it comes to her. Again, that makes him dangerous to society. So, all in all, we've heard testimony, right? Not in court testimony, but I guess you could say corroboration, right? From people such as the victim that Mr. Bishop is allegedly very, very violent, which makes him a danger to society. We've heard information that people in the alleged cult are traveling, which means they could possibly be preparing for him to flee to Mexico to evade this prosecution. We've heard that allegedly Mr. Bishop is trying to mess with the witness slash victim and get her to change her story so this case doesn't go the way that it could, right? I mean, we've heard that he instructs other people to commit violence on his behalf. My goodness, my goodness. We have heard quite a powerful argument against him being given bail. All right, I'm in the chat. What's up to the newbie, Tay the goddess? All right, peace to the goddess. How are you, queen? And thank you for joining us. All right, Neek Nubian has another question. The cult seems to have disbanded. In the event that they did not, can it be court ordered? No, no. So, you all, here's the thing. If a bunch of adults want to hang out with each other and, I don't know, say that they are human manifestations of the Anunnaki, they can do that. Okay, so no, a court cannot order a group of people hanging out to disband. You actually have a constitutional right to assembly. So, in order for them to kind of order any type of disbanding, it would have to be that these people get convicted of committing a crime together. And then they can say, all right, well, you can't commit crimes together. But they still can't even really say that you can't be with the person. It's just more so that you cannot do certain things with that person. All right, let me move forward. Hello to Rockin' with the Truth. How are you? Hello to Amara. Ooh, I'm gonna try. Ifawuyi. Hello to Amara. All righty. Hello to Let Me See Your Transcript. Hello to Truth Strong Warrior. Hello to Osuniemi. How are you, Osun? Let's see. Anyone else that I missed? All right. Ooh, Ross Pamoja has a good question. So, victim statement at a bond hearing, is that normal? Yes, it is. It is normal to have a victim statement at a bond hearing in this type of case. In a violent case, yes, it is. Because again, remember, if the person is violent, they're not likely to get bond. So having the victim say, hey, Your Honor, I am attesting to this person being dangerous, is totally normal in the bond hearing of this type of case. All right, Doug strolling through with the Cash App link for all of you who would like to know. And let me just go ahead and check my Cash App. Now, by the way, if you send me a Cash App and you do not want me to say your name, I'm going to make sure I say this, because if I remember to check Cash App while I'm live, I tend to like shout people out. Okay. So if you send me a Cash App and you do not want me to say your name live, you have to tell me in the little memo, like, don't say my name. Okay. So I know not to say your name. All righty. All righty. Doug says, hit the like button. I agree. We have yet another question from Neek Nubian. Neek Nubian would like to know, as the trial approaches, could obstruction or witness tampering be added? Yes. Okay. Yes, those charges can be added. And we'll have to see if the prosecution feels like they have enough evidence to add those charges. All righty. Hello to Christ Gray. Scrolling through. Hello to Nappy Yankee. What's up, Nappy Yankee? Nappy Yankee says, remember to hit the like button, to subscribe to the channel, and to share this video. Hello to Wisdom Over Feelings. I love that name. All righty. Let's get back into this video. Let's see if we can finish it up.
The victim, Your Honor, I will go through just the 4 factors briefly as to why I believe that this defendant is a significant risk, and that in looking at all 4 factors, he should not be granted bond. For instance, he is a risk of failing to appear or flee the jurisdiction. As I stated before, received that anonymous tip about followers setting up a place for him in Mexico if he was granted bond. And we were able to confirm on social media that one of his followers is in Mexico. In addition, as I stated, he's been to Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Panama, Hawaii, Puerto Rico, has a pending charge out of Ohio, had an arrest conviction from Hawaii, and apparently was kicked out of all the other 3 countries for security measures. He also has that previous failure to appear on that driving while license suspended that I mentioned before. He's a risk to the persons and the property of the community, his followers, as evidenced by some of the videos I showed to you and the other videos that are uploaded on his social media pages. Will do anything that he says. He's proven to be a manipulator and someone who has power and control over the followers in his cult. If he is granted bond, there is no idea what he will order his followers to do, especially since we have evidence that he's instructing his followers to contact the victim straight from jail. He's a significant risk of committing another felony, as evidenced by his history. He does have some violent history with a battery conviction and a pending domestic violence charge. But in addition, the evidence that we've shown to the court of the assaultive nature that he requires his members to take part of, if he was released on bond, then there's a significant risk that he would commit another felony or someone will on his behalf. I also will mention that there was another video on social media where he openly admits and states that he allowed one of his sons to touch his genitalia and play with it. And so there's also that concern for the children in the community.
Listen, this prosecutor is no joke. Again, as I said earlier, tell me some things more powerful than a woman that's gorgeous and intelligent. She better come on. She did her homework for real, for real. Who said that in the chat? Someone in the chat said she did her homework. Honey, she sure did. Truth Strong Warrior. Yes, she did her homework, honey. She did her homework, honey. She's gorgeous, intelligent, prepared, articulate. Oh, yeah. Oh, good luck to him and his people. Hello to KKC. Thank you for the well wishes for all the mothers. All right. Now, she is again reiterating the Mexico connection, the trying to mess with the witness, and the other concerning behavior that he hasn't even been convicted or arrested of, right? Remember the concerning behavior with children. So, yes, let's have a teaching moment. If you have allegedly done something that you weren't arrested or convicted of, but it is a danger to society, right? Listen to that. It is a danger to society, or it is a behavior that makes you dangerous, then it can be brought up. Not Russ Wilson, y'all. You like that? It is something that can be brought up at a bond hearing. So, yes, it is true that Mr. Bishop was not ever arrested for or convicted of allegedly allowing his son to touch his genitalia, right? True. But can it still be used against him in this bond hearing? Yes, because it goes to him being a danger to society, which would go to him not being allowed to be released on bond. All right. You're welcome, Wisdom Over Feelings. All right. Who else do I need to say hello to? I feel like there was someone else I wanted to say hello to. I don't know. All right, let's continue.
In his social media videos, he's also repeatedly said that he's above the law. He is God. He is nature. And so this individual who sees himself in this light believes that no one else can control him. He is the ultimate being, and he is the only one in control of anything. No laws that the court puts or no conditions that the court would put on any type of bond would ensure the safety of others or the community. And what's also most important for the court to consider is that he's a significant risk of intimidating the witnesses or the victim in this case. Specifically, he has been violent with her, he's been violent with other individuals, and he did tell her that if he wanted to, he could kill her. And as I stated to the court, he has instructed his followers to reach out to her. Your Honor, In looking at all four of these factors, there is no way that this court can grant the defendant bond. I understand that the defense will argue that he is alleged to commit these acts and that he is innocent of these offenses. But even outside of that, even outside of what he is part of in this cult and his actions, as far as his criminal history and what he does in these videos and what people have come forward, he is a significant risk to the community, and therefore bond should not be granted.
Thank you, counsel. Defense?
Thank you, Your Honor. The alleged facts in this case, they grab your attention, Judge. You might even call them shocking, but what I am going to ask that the court does here is see past those allegations, because Mr. Bishop does remain cloaked in the presumption of innocence, as the court is aware. And instead, I ask that the court laser focus on the Ayala factors and consider granting Mr. Bishop a bond. Mr. Bishop.
Now, come on. Let's have a moment. Are you innocent until proven guilty? Of course. Okay. Of course, everyone. However, comma, we got a totally different thing going on here. We just saw videos of Natureboy himself telling people to slap each other and calling people B words and saying, yeah, well, if you're gonna let her slap you, no, to get slapped then B word. Like, I mean, we just saw this man participating in violent behavior. So this goes beyond someone just saying that you did something and then you're cloaked in the innocent until proven guilty. This goes beyond that.
Is originally from New York City, Judge. He moved to Atlanta about 20 years ago. He's been based in Atlanta ever since then, even though he has done some traveling, as the state spoke about. Atlanta is where Mr. Bishop hangs his hat. Mr. Bishop just turned 40 in the jail on April 29th. He did spend some time in the Army, Judge, before being medically discharged in the 2000s. After being discharged, he did get his high school diploma through Job Corps. Mr. Bishop has always been gainfully employed. He got his barber's license. After getting his high school diploma, he opened a barbershop in 2013 that's called Bishop's HD Cuts. He sold that business in 2015, Judge, but it's still local, still being run, although no longer by Mr. Bishop. Mr. Bishop does have a stable address in Decatur, Georgia. He's currently 1 year into a 2-year lease, Judge. That's where the warrants in this case were executed, at that apartment complex in Decatur, and that's where he would plan to continue to stay when and if he's able to bond out of DeKalb County Jail. Your Honor, Mr. Bishop is suffering from extreme dental issues in jail. He has a tooth that is decayed down to the root that's causing him extreme pain. He has sought medical care for that situation, and all that he's been able to get for a response is that there's currently a long waiting list at the jail to be seen for that sort of issue, Judge. I understand that the state does have concerns about Mr. Bishop being flight risk. In order to allay those fears, the defense has no objection to house arrest being a condition of bond. We would not object to an ankle monitor. Of course, we would ask that the court allow Mr. Bishop to leave his house in Decatur to meet with his attorneys for medical care. For anything else, that's absolutely vital, Judge. Mr. Bishop does have significant support here. I believe his friend Aaron Dixon. Mr. Dixon, are you on the call? Might not be.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm here.
Yes. This is Mr. Aaron Dixon, Judge. He is a friend of Mr. Bishop. He's here to show his support for Mr. Bishop. So in light of Mr. Bishop's significant ties to the area, in light of the fact that he has been a productive member of society and that he has opened a successful business, sold it, in light of the medical issues that Mr. Bishop is currently dealing with in the DeKalb County Jail, we would ask that the court grant a bond in the amount of $50,000. As I mentioned, we would have no objection to house arrest, to a stay-away order from the alleged victim in this case. And again, I just would like to reiterate that we'd ask the court to see past the allegations in this case, because that's what they are at this point, they're allegations, and instead focus on the Ayala factors, which we think weigh in favor of granting Mr. Bishop a $50,000 bond, Judge.
Judge, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you. And the person named Nisi, Nissei, if you could please mute yourself. Thank you.
Okay, are you able to hear me now, Ms. Sunnycast?
I am, Judge. Thank you.
I apologize. My voice tends to waver at times. Having heard argument from counsel,
So I just wanted to note, so this attorney, on behalf of Mr. Bishop, he is going to give information that he's received, right? So it seems that he's under the impression that Natureboy has been employed. The internet doesn't think that's true, but that's the impression that he's under, right? So he's just giving the court the information that he's been given. This is like to the best of his ability, right? That's the first thing. And Swanex, I have to humbly disagree with you. The public defender or criminal defense attorney, whichever, because I don't know if he's a public defender. Honestly, I didn't hear that. The defense attorney for Mr. Bishop, he doesn't sound to me to be unprepared. I didn't hear that. I hear someone who knows that he has a difficult case and he's just trying his best. I hear someone who is really doing the absolute best that he can for his client. You know, he's really, really trying to prove that Natureboy does have a gainful life, that he does have roots in Atlanta and isn't going to flee if he's released. I didn't hear unprepared. I didn't get that. All right, let's see. Someone said they arrested him at a house, not an apartment complex. Okay, that could have been a slip of the tongue. Someone says, has he ever met this man? I mean, we would think he did. We would think he did. All right, everyone, hit the like button. Let's see. There we go. So St. Hudson says his attorney is only regurgitating what Mr. Bishop told him. Right. I mean, so now, yes, there's a certain level of research this attorney could do. Okay, but let's be real. You can't research if someone is employed as a barber. A barber is not, like having a license to practice medicine, right? There's nowhere to research. So if Mr. Bishop tells his attorney that he is a barber, his attorney is going to think that he is a barber. I mean, at some point, an attorney has to give latitude to their client. So he can't research whether or not Mr. Bishop is an attorney. That's not something that he could have looked up. Hello to Sylvia Arnold. All right. I think I've gotten... Oh, hello to I Am Queen Newton. Hello to Brenda. Long time no see, Brenda. How are you? Brenda says he thought that by having them slap each other, it would keep him from getting in trouble. Well, if he thought that, that was silly. Okay? Because if you tell someone to do something and they do it, you are also responsible, y'all. I don't know why that's something people don't know, but know it now. Know it now. This is the reason why you see all these people that are charged with telling their lover to, M-word their spouse. They still get punished for it. You're not absolved because someone else did it when you told them to do it. All right, I am in the chat, looking through. Oh, Brenda says, I wish that the lawyer would have said the truth. Well, again, the lawyer is going to operate on the best of his ability, and he has to give his client some level of latitude. Okay. All righty. And hello to V Sherry. Let's continue.
Um, the motion for bond is going to be denied. I do find the defendant to be a danger to the community, a risk to intimidating the victim. There's also a risk of flight, and also the risk of committing an additional felony. So therefore, bond will be denied. That will conclude his hearing.
Thank you, Your Honor, and that concludes my business before you this morning. May I be excused?
All righty. So that concludes it, as we so eloquently heard. He was denied bond for the exact reasons that we discussed in the beginning, right? Danger to society, flight risk, and the nature of these charges. All righty. So listen, everyone, it is now 7:08. I'm going to drop the link in the chat. Okay, St. Hudson, no, he cannot. An attorney cannot research if you file taxes. Your tax information is private. That's not something that an attorney can do. Now, the government can do that if they are charging you with some financial crime, right? But an attorney is not permitted to research if you file taxes or not. That's just not it. So I think we really need to back away from trying to blame this attorney for information that he received. That's not how it works. Okay. All righty. So I'm going to drop the link in the chat. And anyone who would like to come up and ask questions or chop it up with me, feel free to do so. Alrighty, so in the meantime, I am going to go ahead and do my content creator roundup. Alrighty, so if I miss anyone, please don't kill me. Just remind me in the chat, okay? Shout out to KKC. Everyone go check out KKC's channel. He does a range of content. He covers cults as well, and he does a lot of Umar Johnson content as well. All right, let's see who's up next. Nappy Yankee. Everyone check out Nappy Yankee's page. He does a lot of social commentary. He ranges in everything from incarceration rates to relationships to Umar Johnson to what did I see him discussing the other day that I was like, that's so interesting? Shoot. Totally slipped my mind. But yes, check out Nappy Yankee as well. All righty, check out Key Film, Media, and Art. I'm always wondering if I'm saying it correctly. Okay. Let's see. I am strolling through the chat. I know Let Me See Your Transcript is in here. I'm just looking for her so that I can actually put her up on the screen. But until I find her, check out Let Me See Your Transcript. She does a lot of Umar Johnson content and history content as well. Everyone check out SC. SC is also a content creator. All righty. I think I got, oh wait, did I mention Diva? Everyone check out Diva Divine Light. She has a page that mostly concentrates on R. Kelly, which, believe me, her channel does an amazing job of helping to get you through the muck and the mire of all of the different cases and allegations. All right. Also, check out Kel's Tears. She also has a lot of analysis and commentary on the R. Kelly saga. And I believe she also has commentary on Natureboy as well. I believe Negus Roselle is also a content creator. Let me put him up. All right. And OCOV Fatboy is a content creator as well. Check him out. All right. I think I got everyone. All right. So if you're a content creator and I forgot you, just remind me in the chat. Hold on. Someone was here and then they left. What happened? Oh, someone was backstage, but they left. Don't know what happened there. All right, so the StreamYard link is there. Come on back if you want to chat with me. Oh, we have a three god member here. Should we say member or believer? Believer. All right. So shout out to Real Truth, the Fierce Deity, says, free my Lord and Savior, three God. Well, if that's what you want, I wish you all the best. Okay. Keep on watching the channel for more information. Angelica Diallo said, when I heard denied, my soul giggled a little. Oh goodness. All right. There goes, let me see your transcript. There we go. Yeah, check her out. All right. Gem Vitale, hello, how are you? Somebody said non-lawyer, where you at? I don't know. And non-lawyer said that he was allegedly trying to reach me for all these months. And I'm like, who? I had never seen him until that day. Wisdom Over Feelings is also a content creator. Y'all go and check out Wisdom Over Feelings. All right, I'm going to put the StreamYard link again. And if no one joins, then I'm going to head on out because, I'm coming back at 8 o'clock. So I will be back at 8 o'clock with the Roe v. Wade, the leaked SCOTUS decision in Roe v. Wade. Okay, we're going to talk about how that affects the average person, what it means, and kind of get past all the rumors and foolishness and get into what's really happening there. Okay, so I'm going to post the link a little bit longer, but then I'm going to get out of here. Sister Kia said, don't call him back. I mean, listen, I'm not calling anybody back. I'm just saying, I had never heard of him until that day. So I don't know. I don't know what happened. That was an interesting evening. All right, y'all, listen, I don't see anybody back here. Okay, so I'm going to give you all another couple devices not connected. All right, so someone's backstage, but it says your devices aren't connected. So go ahead and get connected, and then I'll let you on. And I see, let me see your transcript is backstage, so we're going to let her on in a moment. All righty. Hello, let me see your transcript. How are you?
Hey, how you doing, Empire Esquire TV? Thanks for having me up.
No problem.
I'm doing good. I just wanted to come up here, and I want to say I really appreciate you giving your legal analysis about this. There have been so many, and I think I even emailed you. One of the documents that I was able to get. I'm not sure if you probably get a ton of email anyway. But I'm so glad you were able to go over this, and I know you were also on Information Man show giving your opinion about this. So I really am glad, because there have been so many, I guess, because sometimes it's frustrating as a history teacher, because you're like, hey, I study history and I teach it, and then you see people say things in chats and you're like, they didn't pay attention in history class or government class. What is it talking about? I'm like, okay. It's like all these lawyers. I'm just like, wait a minute, y'all. That's not what it says. Because there were so many people who were like, oh, he's going to get out.
Yeah, there was
they're setting up shop. Oh, they're doing this. Oh, they're doing that. And I'm just thinking, like, I guess because I know people who have been literally following this cult. Yes, it's a cult. The prosecutor said cult. I'm glad she understood that. They have been giving warning signs about this cult for years, but because they were in different countries and it was different circumstances, probably a lot of these people were feared for their lives. And finally, he came back to the United States, and he was in one location, and it happened to be Georgia, DeKalb County. This is what happened. And finally, there was someone who came forward, filed, charges. They did an investigation, and probably other people sent them information. Plus, they have made mistakes. Like, literally, he called from jail and told people, which they stream live, to contact the victim. And it's like, come on now. Come on. So, and yeah, and And like I said, he was telling people to call him 3 God.
Well, the thing
Hitting
that I found the
people,
most
slapping
interesting,
people, and having other people hit people. I'm just thinking, like, okay, that if that many people showed up to come get him out of that house, they had to be watching him and listening to him for a very long time. And I just feel like, can you tell me whether or not, because you as a public defender, did you have someone like an intern or a criminal justice major or something in there, paralegal, doing some work to help you with your case? Because I just feel like every time they put up a video, I just felt like, oh, that poor intern, that poor criminal justice major is doing all that extra work to put these videos together. So I just felt like criminal justice major is these videos together. So I just felt
Swan, turn off your or turn down, or you know what? I'll just keep you muted for now. Sorry about that. Let me see your transcript. But no, I agree with you that there have been some, or rather, I would say a lot of confusion online about this case that kind of makes you wonder, was anyone really paying attention in these, government civics, classes? And one of that being the whole conversation about PPP loans. I heard so much conversation about PPP loans, and I'm thinking, we all know that PPP loans are federally regulated, right? Like, we're not thinking that DeKalb County is going to be prosecuting him for that.
Yeah, that is a whole separate charge. I know, like here in, sorry, it off. I know here in Houston, several people have actually gone to jail for PPP loans, so that would actually be a federal case.
Exactly,
So,
and I would think,
and you can report someone a possible fraud.
Right. Alrighty, so I want to welcome to the stage Dean, Swan, and Ross. We're going to start with Dean. Dean, what's up? What are your thoughts? Okay. Well, while Dean gathers his thoughts, we're going to move on to Swan. Swan X, welcome to EETV. What are your thoughts on this? Swan X, welcome. What are your thoughts on this?
It was very interesting. I found it interesting. Can you hear me?
Swan X. Yes, we can hear you, but turn down the video.
What are your thoughts on it? Yes, it was very interesting. I found it interesting. Can you hear me?
Exit out of your YouTube, Swan.
Yes, it was very interesting. I found it interesting. Can you hear me?
Exit out of your YouTube, Swan.
All right, so we're going to have to wait for Swan to exit YouTube. All right, Ross, welcome to the show. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Greetings. Can I be heard?
Yes, we can hear you. Greetings.
Awesome. Thank you for allowing me on the stage. Great content. Some of the things, I think I actually saw some of this content before, but it was awesome getting your breakdown. What do I think? If throwing rocks at a penitentiary was a person, if how to self-incriminate myself for dummies was a person, that's what I think about this whole thing. It's like reality is stranger than fiction. I can't believe that you get picked up for an ongoing investigation and you're currently incarcerated and he's just doing the things that he's doing. Unbelievable, but I'm here for it. I do have a couple of questions. Now that he has been denied bond, do you think that other victims will come forward now and be added or be used as witnesses for this case? And the second question is the Ohio case. I know it's with his ex-wife Velvet, but I don't know much about that. And if you had any information you can share with share with us, that would be awesome. And I'll just mute myself.
So I don't know anything about the case in Ohio, but I will say as to whether or not other victims will come forward, it is definitely more likely. It is definitely more likely that you'll have other victims coming forward because they'll feel safer, right? Knowing that he's not out and about on the streets, will definitely make other potential victims feel more secure and more willing to come forward. So that's definitely possible. I want to welcome to the stage Saint Hudson. Saint Hudson, what are your thoughts?
Good evening and happy Mother's Day to all and to all's loved ones. I just want to say thank you for clarifying and taking the time to just giving your professional, input and knowledge and corrections out there. Um, I was just, I'm wondering how they're going to handle the case in Ohio and if you can give some clarity to that. Like, are they just going to have him corresponding in through video, do you think? I don't think they're going to fly him out there, right?
So more than likely they wouldn't actually transport him there until a trial, if they have a trial in that case. And as I was saying earlier in the stream, that's going to require communication between the authorities in Georgia and the authorities in Ohio. So they're going to literally talk to each other about what scheduling works for the two of them. And so they may decide, okay, well, let's let him finish out this Georgia case, see what happens there, and then we'll bring him to Ohio for this Ohio case. But again, that depends on what the two jurisdictions decide together. It also depends on if he's even going to trial in the Ohio matter. Maybe he wants to, plead to a lesser charge in that matter. You never know. So it's going to depend on A, what they decide, but also B, how the case gets disposed of. Does it actually go to a trial and things like that?
Now, my other question is, I know they're keeping an eye on the other members, but why do you think, I know you don't have all the answers, but why are they just letting them roam around free? Because clearly there could be charges placed on them as well.
I mean, well, technically there could be. I mean, maybe they were an accessory. Maybe they were part of keeping the alleged victim from leaving the home. Maybe. But none of these charges have actually been brought against them. So remember, we all have a constitutional right to liberty. So you cannot deprive someone of their constitutional right to be free without actually having paperwork that allows you to do so. So none of these members have been arrested for anything. It's not as though, they're pending trial or anything like that. So they can't just detain them without reason.
And one more thing is, I heard, I don't know if this is more of a rumor, but they're actually working on some mandates when it comes to cults because of former cults like Dr. York and now Natureboy, and now we have Rashad Jamal that just was arrested, and I guess the state of Georgia and the government as a whole is getting sick of all these cults like Warren Jeffs and all the history of our cults. Did you hear of anything like that? And this is an election year and stuff like that. They're gonna have to start cracking down on these cults. It's getting out of hand. Do you agree, or have you heard of anything like that?
Well, I haven't heard of anything like that. I've heard of certain policies, but the policies that especially the Department of Justice or the DOJ is really enforcing right now are policies more so to do with human trafficking and S-word trafficking, things like that. I really haven't heard of any specific initiative to take down cults. And remember, as I said earlier, you have the constitutional right to assembly. So you have the right to be a part of a group if you want. So the government is only concerned about if they can prove that you are committing crimes in said group. But beyond that, you're permitted to be a part of whatever group you like. And as I said, if you want to believe that, the Anunnaki dropped you off here as a baby and you're actually an alien, the government can't stop you.
Yes, it's a very thin line, and I do agree. And this is America, and that's where I teeter back and forth with his whole right to even communicate. Because I personally think that they need to take away his rights to his phone privileges and maybe just give him the right to correspond through letters. But it is his right to use the telephone, but it's keeping these people under this spell. And I don't know, it just seems really terrible.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but again, we can only do so much. We cannot restrict someone's right to make decisions, even if we think the decision is bad.
I agree. And from what I've been told, because I do correspond with some people there in Georgia, so I've been getting some messages that people have been going to the house and trying to wean these people out of that house. But like you said, they're adults, they're Americans, and they want to stay there. So there's not much you can do. Hopefully, like, with him being there little by little, the spell will be broken and they'll want to go home. But as long as they're paying rent, there's not much you can do.
Right. I mean, there's really not much that you can do on that end. I want to answer this question from Truth Strong Warrior. Do you think he has a claim for insanity? I haven't seen that. I haven't. What I've seen is a person who seems very calculated and put together from what we've seen thus far. Right now, we have to remember that when you're talking about claiming insanity, the claim that the person would be making is that they underwent or are still undergoing some mental break, which allowed them to not be able to understand or appreciate what they were doing. So understand that he can't say, "Oh, I'm insane because I think I'm God." That's not enough. He would have to prove that at the time that he did whatever he allegedly did to the victim, he did not understand what he was doing. And from what we've seen thus far, I don't see how he could prove that, because just thinking that he's God is most certainly not enough to negate what he allegedly did to her. Okay, I am in the chat. Don't see any questions in the
I have a
chat.
question. Let me ask this. First, happy Mother's Day to everybody in the room. My question is, they do bond hearings like every 30 days or so, right, or something like that. And my question is, do you think they froze his PPP monies, and that's why he doesn't have any defense lawyer or something like that, or can afford one? Because we see, like, on various bloggers, they talk about all these hundreds of thousands of dollars he has in PPP money, and I know they ain't spent all of it yet. So I don't know why. Are they afraid to give that money because of whatever, or is it frozen? That's my first question. My second question is, like, being that this happened in Atlanta or DeKalb County, where they're bringing the charges against them, it's all this other stuff that all the witnesses or everyone is saying that happened in outside of the U.S. and whatnot. Is it irrelevant because they're only dealing with what he did in Atlanta, or or can that be brought in to the conversation?
So, very good question. So, remember when we talked about, well, I don't know if I said this actually, not in this video, but I've said it in the past. At different stages in a prosecution, you have different evidentiary rules and different burdens of proof. At the bond hearing stage, it is relevant if he has alleged criminal conduct in another country, or if he's done something violent in another country. Absolutely. Because again, that goes to if he is a danger to society. So at this stage, yeah, it's totally relevant what he's done in other countries. Okay, so that's that. Now,
Right.
as to the PPP loans and all of that, remember, as let me see, your transcript and I were discussing, that's all federal, and we're talking about a county prosecution. So they're not alleging him of having ill-gotten gains, which means the county is not going to partake in any freezing of his money. They're not alleging that he got money in some negative way, because that's not their role when it comes to PPP. So
Right.
right now, based on what we know, any money that he has, he would have access to, which means if he has money and hasn't hired an attorney, he either for some reason doesn't think he has enough to do so, or he's choosing not to do so.
And one more question, and just as a guy and whatnot, this sets a dangerous precedent that a woman can make an accusation and a guy can get locked up like that just off of an accusation and whatnot. What are your thoughts on that? Because, like, that seems very dangerous, especially with the celebrities, with the athletes, and and the burden of proof. I mean, how can you prove that? We had like a confirmation hearing a while ago with the Supreme Court guy and whatnot. And someone brought that up. Only she and he was in the room. So how, when it comes to accusations like that, they can just lock someone up and deny bond because of, like, in states now, if you're charged with a certain crime, you don't even have the right to bond. And so, it seems like kind of an unfair situation if it has not been proven yet, if you have the burden of proof, or you assume innocent until proven guilty, but you denied bond because of an accusation, and that's scary to me, setting precedent wise.
So I have to tell you something that you might be surprised by. This case doesn't set any strange precedent. That is already the precedent. That if a woman files a report alleging that someone was violent against her, and the law enforcement and the prosecution deems her to be credible, the man can be arrested. That's currently what we're living under now. And this case isn't anything different. And I've seen men arrested in cases with much less violent accusations.
Well,
So,
I understand that. My thing is like bond wise for them to raise money and whatnot. That's the thing. If you are presumed innocent, why are you act? It seems like you're acting like you're guilty and whatnot. Like denying bond because it was something that hasn't been proven yet. And so in a lot of states, that's precedent, right? It seems like, again, if you're accused of this crime, whether while it's ongoing and whatnot, you're denied bond automatically in a lot of states, and that seems like that goes against the presumed innocent. And again, I have no dog in this fight. I'm just, as a man, I'm just like, I find this very unfair.
I think you're finding it unfair because you're misunderstanding it. So remember, I explained that he is still presumed innocent until proven guilty. And we talked about the different types of things that a court looks at for bond. The nature of the crime and how serious the accusations are is just one element. That's just one element out of 11, right? Just to use a random number. So first, yes, you can look at the nature of the accusations, true. But you also look at that person's criminal history. You also look at whether or not they would be a flight risk. You also look at whether or not they have any pending accusations that are kind of aligned with this accusation. You
Right.
also look at how many victims are involved. There are a million different things you look at, and the nature of the charges is just one thing. So when you hear them denying him bond, they don't just say because of the nature. Now, at the preliminary case, they said that, but preliminary is different, right?
Yes.
But as you move on in the bond hearing, as you heard with this judge today, you'll hear him say, first, nature of the charges. Second, you're a flight risk. Third, your behavior is concerning.
Definitely
So
a flight
in this
risk.
type of case, he's denied bond because of all of those things. And remember, yeah, you're presumed innocent, but if you are being dangerous online, you're exhibiting dangerous behavior, then we're talking about more than whether or not you committed this crime. We're talking about, are you a danger if we release you while we figure out if you committed this crime? And remember, we saw videos of Natureboy being violent, which means he's a danger if he's out and about. So, innocent of this crime or not, they need to keep him while they figure out what's going on with this accusation, because he's a danger to society. And that's by his own behavior in the videos that we saw.
Oh yeah. It is like a gang, because like the mafia, because like he was telling them to do witness tampering, find a witness, try to persuade them and stuff. So I can see them prosecuting this as a gang, almost like, as a mafia thing, if they wanted to.
The judge said verbatim, you may commit another felony. Like, we got to keep
Exactly. So
committing
this is about a little bit more than the nature of these charges. That is just one element. At the early stages, the nature of the charges, and by the way, the early stages is literally just your first hearing. As we saw, your first preliminary hearing, certain types of charges, no, you do not get released on bond. Believe it or not, most human beings do not call the police and say that they were violently attacked when they weren't. Okay, over 90% of cases are actual cases. You don't get that many people making that up. So
Well, I just have like custody hearings when parents lie, children lie, and people lie. There is a percentage of that, and that's
what I'm saying. It's a very small percentage. So
that small percentage could be these people. I'm not saying him, but like that small percentage is important. Because that to us is just a small percentage, but in real life, that small percentage is actually people that's going through it.
Right. And so, yes, they are people. And I'm so sorry to hear that. But again, we live in what's called a civilization, which means the greater good. So the greater good is to take someone's word at the preliminary stage, because most people are not lying. So the government, and mind you, I'm not telling you what Felicia thinks. I'm telling you what the government thinks. The government has the role of promoting the greater good, which means that if most people are telling the truth at the preliminary stages, we have to take their word to protect society. If we got 10 people and one person is being lied on, all 10 of them aren't getting released. That's how the government works. And then when we figure out that person number 10, they were lying on you, okay, well, you get released now.
Yeah, can we remember back in history when
what would you rather have? That one man that may be innocent might have to sit for an extra week, or you release a guy that was actually guilty and he go hurt another 10 women, or take another 10 women off this planet?
Right. My thing is, like, we have a history of, like, even looking back in civil rights, and where a lot of white people lied on one black person, and because of that, it was like boom. You see what I'm saying? So it does happen and whatnot. Like when a person have all these, because a person can be hated so much that the police put false evidence against people all the time, and you have the Innocence Project because of stuff like that. My thing is just that it happens. People lie and stuff like that. So while they're trying to figure out who's lying and who's telling the truth, again, I agree with the extenuating circumstances. If it's like some gang material going on, like threatening witnesses, threat risks, I agree with all of that. But I'm just saying, like, just generally and whatnot, the person should be allowed not have it on the books like automatically if you're charged with this, you don't bond out. I just have an issue with that part of it.
Well, they have to have enough. They always have enough supporting evidence, and we're not back in those days. Like, they have way more ways to gather evidence than back in those days. So, they're not just convicting people off of nothing, and it's not easy to set up somebody for that for that type of charge.
Yeah, Black Lives Matter is still live and well right now because of
situation. Yeah, and a Black Lives Matters is scamming a lot of people too. You got to understand, the media really likes to insinuate. The media likes to insinuate a lot of this, like, confrontation between, social issues like that, because it generates a lot of money and stuff like that. How often have you known in your personal life that situations like that happen?
But people have
plus that's a pro-black. Plus that's a pro-black.
How often in your personal life have you known situations like that to happen in your personal life?
All right, let me just jump in and say something. Angelica, be nice. Everyone be nice. Have patience. Remember that when you're addressing someone whose opinion is different from yours, they're giving you the opportunity to grow, right? It's the opportunity for you to see something from another perspective, but also the opportunity for you to learn how to articulate your side of whatever the issue is, right? So this is an opportunity for all of us to grow. Now, I am going to shift it over just to give someone else the chance. So does either Ross or Key Film Media have anything they'd like to add to the conversation?
Yes, I wanted to say, plus that's a pro-black propaganda. Pro-black propaganda that's spread, and it really has no foundation to stand on. And I know you're tired of these PPP loans, but I did have a question regarding it. Like, being that Velvet came forward and and told them about the PPP loans, and I'm even suspecting that a lot of those, being that he was holding their identifications, that like in some cases, some of those people may not have had knowledge of PPP loans being done under their name. Is it like a mandate for, like, just say the state, since Velvet informed the state, is it a mandate for the state to inform the federal government that this occurred, or that this occurred?
So that's an interesting question. So we do have something that's called mandatory reporting for certain types of employees, but mandatory reporting usually pertains to violence. So it's usually, if a prosecutor hears that a child is being harmed, or, a woman is being harmed in the home, or an elderly person, they have to report that. That usually is what the reporting applies to. Now, could the state choose to do so? Of course. And is it likely that they do so? Yes. It is very likely that, once Velvet makes the state aware of, hey, I think there's some PPP stuff going on, very likely that the state will then contact the Department of Justice and say, we received this information, we want to share it with you. That is, I mean, I'd say 90% chance of that, right? But then remember, the whole PPP loan fraud thing is a big thing right now. And so you can
Right.
imagine that the DOJ is really, really busy with that. So
Mm-hmm.
when they'll get around to it, we don't know. But it's very likely that whoever Velvet told, if she told someone in the state prosecution, they passed that information on to the DOJ.
Okay, now I'm not sure because, and I understand why the attorney wouldn't be able to say so during the hearing. But like in the event that, okay, so Nature Boy, it was actually on 2 phone calls where he asked one of his members to reach out to the witness or to the victim. Okay, and the attorney didn't say whether or not that had occurred. But in the event that they find that has occurred, would Solar also be brought up on charges?
It could be, if they're able to prove, as I've always said, if they are able to prove that Solar or any of these other men involved either participated in what happened to the victim, tried to intimidate the victim, tried to get her to change her story, harassed her, anything like that, they can be prosecuted for it. So it all comes down to what can they prove, right? So a lot of that is the victim. If the victim is being contacted by them, is she saving these messages? Is she saving the text? Is she recording the phone call and then providing that to prosecution? Because then they may face charges if it can be proven that they were doing so.
From what I hear on the inside, that I heard that Solar hung up the phone on him. He started screaming at Solar. So, but that's like from the inside. But anyway, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go on. What were you going to say?
And I have one additional question. Like, one of my concerns is that it is alleged that, a lot of them have diseases. And just any event that, like, just say they found that, Nature Boy, like was tested for, positive for some type of disease or something of that nature. Is that like, I'm just looking at CDC and a risk because, they stated plenty of, they think that they don't have to go under doctor's care. And because of, the way that they practice, the way that they believe and how they practice, adult activities. Is there is there any precautions or anything that, just say the community or people could do about that? Because I'm very concerned about people, especially since, it's alleged that they've gone to different areas of the country and different places. I'm very concerned about, the way that they think that, if you believe that you're not infected with anything, that you don't have it. I'm very concerned that, about, the safety of others when it comes down to, that sort of thing.
Alrighty, so let's have this conversation very, very briefly. So most states have a law against the purposeful transmission of serious STIs. One of those STIs being HIV. Most states have a law on the book that if you know you have a serious STI like HIV, and some of them, as I said, have other serious STIs like herpes, gonorrhea on the books as well, right? If you know that you have this STI and then you do not tell the person you're engaging with and they contract that STI, in many states that is a crime. It is a crime in the state of Georgia. I know for sure with HIV. I don't know about the other STIs, but I know for sure in the state of Georgia, it is a crime to know that you have HIV and then have intimacy with a person and transmit HIV to them. So
okay, so they have to know it. They have to actually know it though, right?
Yeah, the person has to know that they have HIV. Now, here's the thing though. Just because someone says they don't believe in having diseases doesn't mean they don't know they have HIV. Okay, so
I got you.
You get what I'm saying? If a doctor has told the person, if a doctor has said to the person you have HIV, that constitutes them knowing. whether or not they say they believe it or not. So
Okay.
that is something that he's allegedly done and someone comes forward. But with those types of cases, you don't very often get people coming forward because it means they have to admit they have that thing. So you don't often get people coming forward and saying, I think this person purposely gave me this or that STI, because that means they have to admit they have that STI. And
I
that's
got you.
right. And that's a touchy subject. All right. I want to answer this question really quickly. Chris Medina says, what do you think about Moors, Felicia? That's an entirely different live. So here's what I'll do, Chris Medina. You talk to some of your folks, because I'm betting that you're probably interested in it, right? And I'm going to create a live for next week, specifically because I've had more than one person ask me this. So I'm going to create a live for next week, specifically about Moors and sovereignty. However, when I create this live, if I don't see at least, I'm going to be nice. If I don't see at least 50 people waiting for the live, I'll cancel it, because I'm not going to sit here and do a whole live talking about Moors, talking to me and two people. So, Chris Medina,
I'll watch it and I'll
probably
let
a
people know.
Moor. You're probably a Moor. So get with your folks and tell them that when I set the live, I should see your reminders. Otherwise, I'm going to cancel it. All right.
I
Okay,
have a
so
question. I do have one question, real quick
yes,
question.
go ahead, and then I'm going to add someone to the stream in the meantime. Go ahead with your question.
My question is, when the gap, when everything falls and they start bringing the other members up on charges, how much can they get away with by claiming that they were under duress? Like, well, because it seems like with the Manson cult, especially, like a lot of other people didn't get charged with stuff. They were like saying they were under duress, and we didn't see hardly anybody else like behind bars. Will they be able to say the same thing?
That's a very, very, very interesting and informed question. Thank you for that question. So, yes, many of these members may allege that, but let's talk about how they would have to prove that. Okay. They would have to prove that Nature Boy was holding them in a way in which they felt that their lives, their safety, or the lives or safety of someone they loved was in danger. Okay. So when we're talking about a lot of the male members, that's kind of sketchy, right? We can already see that it's going to be difficult for another grown man to say that this other man held him in such duress that he really wasn't able to stand up for himself and leave, right? That's going to be a high hill to climb for the male members. Now, the female members, not so much, especially when you add in the S word and the R word and all these other things. It's not going to be very difficult for, let's say, a Sheba or an Afuru to say, hey, I may have slapped someone or held someone down, but I was afraid of what he would do to me if I didn't. That will not be a hard argument for them to make at all. The male members will have the harder hill to climb with that.
I have a domestic violence question. Some states, like whether the women say they do it or not, the state will file the charges to protect themselves. And we've seen a lot of women in this cult commit domestic violence on other members and stuff like that. But because they are in the cult, and like the other person was saying, they might be afraid to report it or whatever, or brainwash. Is the burden on the state? Like they come out to your house and a woman, be like, I don't want to press any charges. It's all good. Some states say, well, we gotta bring you in anyway. We doing this because she might be scared or she might be whatever. Will they do that? You think down the line, or can they do that? Watching all the abuse for these women, like one was yanking someone's scarf while one was slapping somebody, one was and they were like participating in the false imprisonment, like where they say I had to sneak out because these women would have jumped me if I would have tried to leave. So they could be in that false imprisonment thing too. Like, does the state say? I know no one. They're not gonna say. They're not gonna say they was beat up. They're not gonna say it because they in protection mode or Stockholm syndrome mode or whatever. But we're going to take it in our own hands.
So I think what you're asking is, can the government go forward with cases in which they don't necessarily have victims cooperating? I think that's what I'm getting. And yes, they can. Okay. Many jurisdictions currently prosecute, especially DV cases, especially domestic violence cases, where the victim is actually saying, no, I love him, I want to be with him, please don't prosecute him.
Yes.
And the government is saying, no, he's violent towards you and it's not safe. So, yes, and that is called evidence based prosecution. And they call it that because they base it on just solely evidence without testimony from any victim. And very often they use the police reports, the testimony of law enforcement, social media, okay? Any phone records, any text messages, because remember, law enforcement can subpoena all those things. Prosecution can subpoena all those things. So even if you have a victim that doesn't want to share her text messages or does not want to give over her phone, okay, the government can go around the victim and get threatening text messages and things like that. So, yes, you can be prosecuted even if you have a victim that does not want you to be prosecuted.
Are they, do you think are they going to offer like, therapy, like, code therapy or deprogramming therapy or possibly domestic abuse, domestic therapy for any of those victims?
That depends on the jurisdiction. Some jurisdictions are better than others when it comes to support for DV victims, support for victims of violent crime. It depends on the jurisdiction. It's not something that's federally regulated. Let me welcome Samantha to the floor, or rather to the stage. What are your thoughts, Samantha?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
I've been having a lot of thoughts. I did have some questions, but I believe you answered them already. So I tried to drop down, but it didn't work. But I appreciate, everything that you've said and what you're explaining up here. So yeah, I'll just drop down, sweetheart. Thank you so much.
Okay, no problem. I can remove you, all right?
Thank you.
Alrighty. So it's just me and is it Saint Hudson? I think we're gonna go with Saint Hudson. It's just me and Saint Hudson left.
Oh yes, sorry, I had my phone down. I was cleaning.
That's fine. I'm going to answer this question from Sis Zakia real quick, and then I'll let you have the floor. So Sis Zakia would like to know what charges can be brought because there have been numerous children exposed to that environment. So for those of you who do not know, if you have an environment where an adult is violently attacked or where an adult is abused, that can be considered to be jeopardizing the welfare or endangering the welfare of the children in the household. It is considered by law to endanger a child when you have them around someone who's violent, even if the person has yet to be violent with them. Okay. So, from what we know of thus far, Natureboy has not been charged with endangering the welfare of a child, but we know that allegedly there were children in the household, and the potential for that is still out there. Go ahead, St. Hudson.
Lastly, I just want to know if it's still important that the people that feel comfortable enough to make noise, is it still important that we like write letters if we feel comfortable and, contact the judges and the DAs, or is that like inappropriate?
It's definitely not inappropriate to contact them, right? I would say make sure you're doing so with pure intent and not, malicious intent. But if you really feel that you have information to offer or perspective to offer and you want to share that there's definitely no rule against that.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for, just being a professional ear out here and a professional word out here. Because, everyone has their opinions, but we appreciate the professionals, and happy Mother's Day to you and yours. And
thank you. Same to you. And thank you for joining me.
Thank you. And bye.
Alrighty, bye-bye. All right, so DNR says, this is so informative. Thanks so much for answering these questions. Oh, you are absolutely welcome. You are absolutely welcome. Alrighty, so I am just scrolling through. Ross wants to know if the trial will be shown online. We don't know. That is a decision that is made by the judge, you all, whether or not the case is quote unquote open, or you should say the trial is open, right, to the public, or whether or not it's closed. Okay. Kid with the copper says, I'm not a Morris Science member. Okay, well, if you're still interested in the conversation, you can check it out. as I said, if I don't see a certain number of people set the reminders, I'm not going to do it because it's a tense, intense topic, and it doesn't make any sense to do that for 3 people. Okay. You're welcome, Candy Girl. You are very, very welcome. All right, so listen, I think my channel does have YouTube membership, sis Zakia, but I am going to be ending that membership. Actually, you reminded me, I'm going to end it now because I really have not been making member content, and I'm going to tell you, and I haven't been promoting the membership either, if you've noticed, and I'm going to tell you guys why. So the member space was where I shared a lot of my life content, right? So I talked about conflicts at work and how to deal with that, conflicts with family members and how to deal with that, how to deal with criticism from others, how to deal with people who are judgmental, all of those things. But really, the theme flowing throughout that is self-love and love of the Most High. So I haven't been promoting the membership because I am actually going to be starting an entirely separate project promoting self-love. Okay, so you'll be getting that from me very, very soon, and then you'll be able to join that. Okay, that will be a membership style situation. So be on the lookout, y'all. I'm working on some things for you. Okay, Samantha is back. I think she might have a question. Samantha, are you back because you have a question? If so, feel free to ask now.
Yes, I'm so sorry about that. Hold on, make sure that I turn this other video. Okay. So I'm not sure if you answered this previously. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So I wanted to know, what is the likelihood of more charges coming? We see what it is right now. What is the likelihood that more will be added on?
Well, it's possible, right?
Like
But
if
keep
they discover, I'm so sorry. Is
no,
it still considered, even though he's under arrest, and his bond has been denied, is it still technically under investigation?
um I'm sorry, my laptop is acting funny. I have an amazing laptop, but it's burdened because I have so many things saved on here. So I got to figure out how to shift it. But anywho, so is it possible that they are still investigating? Yes. They are going to
Mm-hmm.
continue to look at his social media. They are going to continue to speak to witnesses. They are going to continue to investigate. Absolutely. So does that mean that more charges could be added as far as Mr. Bishop is concerned? Yes. Does that also mean that other people could be charged? Yes. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a yes to both questions. It is definitely possible.
Okay, you are and you go by Empowered. Is that your name on here?
Yeah, my name is Felicia, but you're welcome to call me Empowered
Well,
if you
you
want.
are truly empowered. I love an articulate, educated woman. I swear I do. So I hope you understand what I mean. I just love someone that's well informed, and I appreciate you. So I thank you so much for answering my questions. It's greatly appreciated, and I hope you have a great night.
Thank you so much, you too. And y'all give me life. I love being on here having these conversations with you all. You all know I don't do this for the clout or the coins or anything of that nature, right? I just do it because I love this. I love talking about the law, sharing information, and hearing your questions and having that exchange. All right. So listen, it's 8 o'clock. So I'm already supposed to be over on Roe v. Wade. So I hope you all follow me over to Roe v. Wade. I'll be starting that live like pronto. All right. So anyway, listen, I hope you feel empowered by the legal information that was shared here today. You bring something unique to this world, to my life, to this channel, and I love you for that. Okay. So replay gang gang, what's up? Tell me, what do you think about this bond hearing? And please give flowers to the prosecutor. Okay, honey, give her flowers because mama is killing it. She's articulate, she's intelligent, she's gorgeous. I mean, my goodness. Okay. But yeah, tell me what you think in the comments, replay gang. All right. I will see you all over on my next stream. Check out my commentary on Roe v. Wade going live now. See you later.